I think the defense was relatively weak, only because the defense is weak. I mean, they did what they had to do. I'm not hearing evidence that says Tyler Robinson didn't do this. Look, these are not rookie defense lawyers. There's good lawyers on both sides, and on the balance of things, I think Tyler Robinson has a problem.
Or the preliminary trial is over. Do you think people will look back and say justice was served last week, or that the public narrative got ahead of the evidence?
Let me say this. You're correct to say that it was a preliminary hearing regarding Tyler Robinson and whether prosecutors could meet the probable cause standard to show that a crime was committed and that this is sufficient evidence to bring Tyler Robinson to trial. That's the question that's being answered. And I think prosecution did a fantastic job of presenting the evidence. I think the defense was relatively weak, only because the defense is weak. I mean, they did what they had to do. They objected to the admission of evidence, hearsay, the quality of evidence. But note, I'm not hearing evidence that says Tyler Robinson didn't do this. I'm not hearing, it's not coming out. It's just not, I'm not hearing it. Maybe viewers can disagree with me, but I am not hearing that this wasn't Tyler Robinson, look at somebody else. Now, there was questions about DNA, right? But the overwhelming evidence tends to show that, number one, there's surveillance video that prosecutors say tracks Robinson's movements before and after the shooting of Charlie Kirk at that Utah Valley University. There was forensic DNA, which a DNA expert testified was recovered from the murder weapon and ammunition that overwhelmingly belonged to Robinson. And there was statistical data that was given on this, right? And the statistical data overwhelmingly suggests that there's a tie. Now, again, it doesn't mean that evidence alone doesn't mean he did it. Remember, what it means is they're trying to show that it passes the probable cause threshold. And the probable cause threshold is really just the same threshold, Jay, for police to get a warrant to search your car if they pull you over and you might be slightly intoxicated. It's probable cause to issue a warrant or to arrest you. So it's not a beyond a reasonable doubt, which is what prosecutors will have to prove when this goes to trial ultimately.
Correct.
It is a much lesser standard. So there was also testimony from Robinson's former roommate, partner, as we heard, Lance, and he testified that Tyler expressed remorse that he did this. Okay. Again, he was subject to cross-examination. I'm not seeing holes in this testimony. I believe the overwhelming balance of evidence. Look, the defense challenged the reliability of it. They challenged, the DNA, saying DNA evidence is probable, Judge. There's probability rather than a definitive indication. Yeah, I agree with that. But the problem is the probability weighs more in favor of something happened here and it should go to trial. That's the problem for the defense.
Right.
And they made plenty of objections during the preliminary hearing as to the presentation of evidence. And so, look, these are not rookie defense lawyers. There's good lawyers on both sides, and on the balance of things, I think Tyler Robinson has a problem.
I do agree with you 100%, and I'm glad you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say your question was also public narrative. I mean, look, public narrative always has the potential to taint, the way evidence is viewed, but the nice thing about this is Judge Graff is the one who's calling the shots. It's not a jury.
Correct.
And Judge Graff is a good judge. I mean, he's listening.
He seemed like a top shelf, yeah.
I like Judge Graff. I like his rulings. I like the way he's very careful. He's really trying not to let any prejudice. You saw his face and his reactions when he's watching video. I mean, he's a human just as much as any one of us. But he's looking to see is a standard met. And finally, Jay, an important date everyone should mark down on their calendar. September 1st is when final arguments are going to be made before Judge Graff, Tony Graff. And after those arguments is when he's going to decide whether there was sufficient probable cause for this to bind over, what they say, bind over for trial. So between now and September 1st, I don't think there's going to be a decision on that.
No, I agree. So do you mind, because a lot of people don't understand preliminary versus like your traditional grand jury situation. Why does Utah do it like this versus a grand jury? Which one would you rather see? I know you don't primarily work in this space, but do you have an opinion on that, or maybe can explain or speak on that?
Yeah, so right out of the gate, I mean, I don't do criminal work. I know enough just based on, my readings of these cases. The short answer is prosecutors generally make the decision of a preliminary hearing instead of seeking a grand jury indictment. So it's part of our constitutional process. Both are permission. Say that again.
Could they do that here in Georgia? Could we do that here in Georgia?
I'm not.
I've never heard of that before.
It can vary by state. Okay, so it's a function of state law.
Okay.
In Utah, both mechanisms are available for charging. Prosecutors make the decision. A grand jury is a secret proceeding. We don't.
Correct.
It's not. We don't hear it. It's not televised. Preliminary hearings, as we saw, can be televised in open court. A grand jury, as the term implies, make the decision. In a preliminary hearing, a judge makes a decision on probable cause. Grand jury, generally, the defense doesn't participate. I don't know if you knew that.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, and preliminary hearing is the defense participates. So there's pros and cons, and the system was designed to be balanced, because if there's a preliminary hearing and the attorney says, look, there's some complicated issues I don't want people to inject their biases. Maybe it's intensely a race issue, or in this case, a highly politically charged issue, okay, with lots of conspiracy theories. I think it was the right call to have the judge do it. And, the caveat, the counterbalance to that is, well, if you're going to have a judge decide, then defense gets to put their show on as well. And that's designed to be the offset. That's designed to be the push and pull between, well, if you're going to have, not people, rather lay people, but a judge decide this, then the defense is going to have an opportunity to poke holes.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.